Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Spirit of Beverly Bolden tarot card reading. Just drop some dragon's blood resin on there. Get that fire energy, that charge going up. And I'm going to add some more than myrrh oil with Reiki energy. One of the oils that I make, my company Beverly's Beauty Blessings, and I do have my Reiki certificate. And gonna let that bring that fire energy, and that myrrh. Myrrh is the gangster resin. It clears out all the mayhem and just, nefarious energy. So you're going to set this to the side. And I want to get some megahertz music playing here. Let's see what we got. Let's do some 963 megahertz music going, just to keep the reading in alignment. So 963. Okay. And tonight's reading is, I'm just going to let it flow. There is no theme. My mind is very much on 5D and just the elevation and ascension that I can just feel in the air, and that I see just with other people who are actively looking to evolve and to get into higher consciousness. And so this is a mind, body, and soul reading. Once again, my readings are for those who are seeking to not better themselves to one up others, but to one up the old self, or things that no longer serve them, and just to be in alignment with constructive aspects of themselves and the world. And as I like to call myself, the help and not the hurt, where I can help it. That's who my tribe is. Those people who consider themselves the help and not the hurt, and where they are hurting, or actively seeking ways to remedy that and heal, so as to no longer hurt themselves and others. Okay. So tonight we got the horse tail, which is patience in reverse. We got manifestation, 9 of water. And then we got fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposites, extremes of life. So the first card, horsetail. And the first thing that I see before I even start reading the book and what the guidance says, I know horsetail, excuse me, steady that right there. Horsetail is one of the ingredients that I use in my top selling product, which is the herbal hair oil. I know that's for the hair, but it's also for the bones. And that card says patience. And then the next card is 9 of water, 9 being the last number. 9 is completion, manifestation, and fall into my arms, surrender, holding the opposite extremes of life. So the first thing that I'm seeing is that in order to ascend or elevate or step into a space where you are no longer hurting yourself and or others and healing, patience is required because there are levels to it. It's like I recently discovered that as soon as the inner child gets just about healed or completely healed, then the inner teenager comes out to say, hey, I got some stuff I need addressed. So it's a never-ending process. We're at a point now where the generations before us didn't really have the opportunities or the mindset and or the strength and courage and ability to deal with things that were just not right. They were busy trying to just make it and survive. And so manifestation, the 9 of water, also requires patience. We live in a instant society, but nature and Mother Earth and just reality doesn't work that way. And the last card, surrender, fall into my arms, holding the opposites, the extremes of life. Fall into my arms feels like Mother Nature, Earth again saying surrender. We are not in control of everything. Though you may be striving to go forward, there are things behind you, as in holding the opposites, that are still necessary. The extremes of life are necessary. So let's see what horsetail says. In reverse, it says challenge, stubbornness, hardship, feelings of loss, impatience. Upright, it's endurance, steady focus, period of gestation, trust the process, heightened sensitivity. These are all things that are required. Reverse and upright. Remember, extremes of life. Holding the opposites. Hold space for the opposite. Hold space for the fact that sometimes things are going to be in reverse. There's going to be a challenge. You are going to be stubborn. There's going to be hardship. There's going to be a feeling of loss. And you will be impatient. And then at other times you have an amazing amount of endurance. Or your focus is steady. You are trusting the process. There is heightened sensitivity. Whenever you cross paths with the horsetail, you are looking at a member of the sole surviving genus of a once great lineage. Prehistoric horsetail is said to have been giant compared to the remaining species that exist today. This primitive plant is a descendant of large trees from the Paleozoic era, about 375 to 600 million years ago. These plants emerged from primordial swamps over 100 million years, long before dinosaurs walked the earth. All cultures to which horsetail was native used it as a food and medicine, often cooking it like a vegetable or chewing it raw in the springtime. Horsetail strengthens connective tissues such as skin, hair, nails, bones, teeth, cartilage, ligaments, and even mucous membranes. In ancient times, it was referred to as a bone mender, as it was used to help heal broken bones, fractures, and osteoporosis. Horsetail is ruled by Saturn, as strengthening the skeletal system and connective tissues and promoting wound healing, hair growth, skin protection, and bone strength are all in the ring planet's domain. Saturn also corresponds with processing of minerals within the body, particularly the kidneys, which horsetail also nourishes. Archetypally, as an archetype, Saturn provides us protection, shielding, courage, endurance, patience, self-control, and the blessings of challenge. Saturn, known as Cronus in Greek, is the lord of time and viewed as a destructive, all-devouring force. Yet Saturn isn't as malevolent as it is portrayed to be, as its energy teaches us self-mastery, the power we are granted once we overcome the cycles of pain and suffering. So what that's saying is discipline can seem harsh. It can seem bad. But once we have the self-mastery that discipline exalts, then you are able to overcome the cycles of pain and suffering due to old wounds and trauma and just old ways of being that at one point served you but are now harming you. The guidance of Horsetail teaches us of the power that lies within patience and the endurance gained through the hidden blessings of challenges. There are many times where we think that a situation is hurting us only to find out a short time or thereafter that it was actually building us up. You know, they say that pressure builds diamonds. I don't think that the diamond is thinking or feeling that way when it's happening. It feels painful, but it's part of trusting the process. There is something good in all seeming failures. I know for one thing, a failure means that you tried. And although that might not be clear in the moment, time will reveal it. Trust the process. Remember that stubbornness and willfulness are counterproductive to loosening knots. Instead, like the medicine of horse, ground to earth's energy and adapt to changes and hardships on the journey. That's that holding the opposites, meaning you want to go forward and you're being pulled backwards. Holding the opposites means understand that there are going to be moments where it's just steady focus. It's a period of gestation. Horse medicine provides us heightened sensitivity and the purity of trust, essential tools to have as we navigate life's journey. Invoke the strength of a horse as a power animal when you need increased psychic sensitivity and intuition. The next card is Nine of Water. The completion of water is emotional. Water is fluid. Let's see what this has to say. Manifestation, desire, and fulfillment. This is the card that you want to come up when you have just blown out the candles on your birthday cake. It is a card of desires met and wishes fulfilled. The trouble is that sometimes you have to be very careful about what you wish for. This is not superstition. It is merely a warning to keep your eyes open so that you are sure that the gorgeous person you want to date is worthy of you, and that the house you want to buy is not a money pit. If you've done your research, then all will be well. How I feel about what that says is that if you are able to have patience and able to understand that sometimes in the journey you're going to have to stop and surrender, that actually gives you the ability to make sure that what it is that you are going after is actually beneficial. If you're just rushing to get to what it is that you desire, maybe you haven't done your research, or maybe there's more to what meets the eye. Maybe something is looking good on the outside, but inside it's not really what you want. So this card paired with the other one is a good thing when you're not getting exactly what it is that you want right away. You're going to have to excuse me tonight. I have the camera at a different angle and I keep jabbing it. Right? So the next card is from the Star Seed is Fall Into My Arms, Surrender. And let's see what that has to say. Star Seed activation on the portal of your heart. The Great Mother ushered you in when you took your first breath, and she'll be there when you draw your last. She knows how challenging life can be. That being human can be lonely and confusing. That the polarity and separation can be excruciating. When your soul remembers the oneness of Source, but at the same time it can be incredibly glorious and sweet. So often we see things as either good or bad. When things go well, we make it mean that we're being rewarded. And when things are bad, then perhaps you've done something wrong. However, we're all here to expand and grow, and it's through the extremes of life that we do exactly that. You're being invited to welcome the highs and the lows of the human experience, to let them initiate you more fully into life. The agony and the ecstasy, the beauty and the bitterness. This life is but a single breath in the inextinguishable existence of your experience as a soul. The Great Mother wants you to hand over your loneliness, worries, hurt, sorrows, fears, burdens, and doubts, to lay them on her altar, to fall fully into her arms, to remember that while these extremes are difficult, they can also be magnificent. The more wildly the pendulum of your life swings, the more truthfully you can say, I've truly loved. Place the card on the portal of your heart and whisper the following. So I'm going to whisper this slowly, and you can follow with me. I'm ready to embrace the extremes of my life. I lay all that I am carrying onto the Great Mother's altar and fall completely into her arms. Surrender. That's the thing about trauma and wounds that are affecting us from the past. I recently had a revelation, and it happened not against me but for me, because the worries and the hurt and the sorrow, the fears, the burdens and doubts that came about because of trauma and wounds of yesteryear were things that I continued to revisit. And the revelation was that you are to revisit them in order to analyze what caused them, or who caused them, and what were they going through, or what were the circumstances or the situation or the environment that caused these things. Not to go back to revisit them just to ruminate, just to keep re-wounding yourself. But now we are in 5D, and so even revisiting them no longer is necessary because we now have the ability to lay these burdens down completely. You can do it through meditation, you can do it through fasting, but completely, or when you catch yourself having these negative thoughts, instead of ruminating, you can say, oh, that's information, and it'll stop it. And then you can move on. It's a challenge. It requires patience with yourself. It requires a heightened sensitivity to recognize when you are going backwards, when you are holding the opposites in a negative way, when you are looking at the extremes of life as a punishment to where you are not able to manifest. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the reading. I wish you love, I wish you peace, and I wish you light. But I also wish you the courage to go into the darkness and recognize that there are tools that are waiting for you to discover. 1.